in our age. But I think the thing that makes Buddhism perhaps the most available to the present day world is the fact that it has some very unique features in its teachings. One of them is, it's the only religion that I know of that spends an enormous amount of time in its scripture talking about what? Talking about how we see the world physically. I mean, they're talking about the eye sending an impulse to the brain and the brain processing that impulse. That's why tomorrow I want to talk about cognitive science and the Buddhist. What religion would say this is the beginning of enlightenment is to understand how your senses work physically. If you don't know how your senses work physically and you don't know how the brain is working, then you don't have a chance. I mean, they're very open about it. So consequently, almost every time they open their mouth, the first thing they did is say, well, there's the eye, the ear, the nose, and there's the sense fields for them, and there's a consciousness that results from them. So perception became a big issue. And then the question is, of course, from them, was to say, you know, people accuse them of saying that there's no external world or it's illusory and all that. Buddhists never deny the external world. Never, I guarantee you. They never deny the external world. But what they say is, you will never see it. You will never see it directly. All you can experience is the brain, chemical, electrical reactions to the data that comes from the senses, and that is all human experience is. You don't have it. We don't have the ability to go beyond that. So the illusion is not the external world. The illusion is our brain creates for us virtual reality, and it does it so well that, by golly, it really looks like you're there. You know? If I didn't know better, I would think that this is a room full of people. So this cognition process for the Buddhist was exactly what I think what cognitive science says today. You have an external, light reflects off the eye sends an electrical impulse to the brain processes it in some way, and you have consciousness and say, I see you. Of course, I don't see you. I see that electrical impulse in here. That's the illusion. The illusion is, I see you out there. The reality, say the Buddhists, is we have to accept that I, whoever I am, see you, whoever you are, in here. Today in the world, what used to be private is now public. It used to be that I could say, I don't know what you're thinking, I don't know what's going on in your brain. Guess what? More and more, I can know what's going on in your brain. I can hook you up to the machines. I can see the pattern of brain activity, the electricity, the flow of blood. I can see all of that. And I know pretty much that, you just saw something, because that part of your brain lit up. I know you saw it. Don't tell me you didn't. So what was once private is becoming more public. What is consciousness? Still a big question. Is it this moment where the nerves in the brain drop the little chemical from one to the side to the other? Is that consciousness? The Buddhists spent a lot of time thinking about this. If we don't know what's happening to us, then we don't know things as they really are. And how do we know things as they really are? We have to know our perceptions and how they come to us. So today, recently there was a conference on consciousness in Washington. They invited the Dalai Lama. He went. The scientists said to the Dalai Lama, we really like to test these meditators, but we don't want just, your grassroots meditator, somebody who's out here. We want the best, and you must have them. Will you let us test them? Dalai Lama said, sure, happy to. The meditators weren't too happy, but he said, You're going to have to let them test you. You're going to have to meditate while you're hooked up with respirators, with all of this gear. So this is one of them that's being done at Harvard. NIH is now funding this kind of support for this kind of issues, in which we are trying to understand what is it that happens when somebody meditates, because it now appears that concentration and mindfulness make an enormous difference in the way in which we live our lives, in which we learn, and how we handle life situation. And we need to know more about it. Our senses, of course, can give us pain. And so we say, I cut my finger. And the Buddhists keep saying, you understand it's not your finger that hurts. But that's really, it's your brain that's hurting. Your brain tells you, ouch! And I say, oh, it's my finger. In Vietnam today, one of the most moving things for them is the fact that a Vietnamese monk during the Vietnamese War burned himself without showing any signs of pain. I don't know if you've ever seen the video of him burning, but it is incredible. He burned sitting in his lotus posture with his mudra for 3 minutes before he fell over. How did he do it? How could somebody, because other people tried it thereafter. A lot of people burn themselves, you know, they commit suicide, and they scream and writhe in pain. They should never do it. You know, they don't know how to do it. They haven't yet, they don't have the right to do that. He could turn off the brain and the pain sensor in his brain. He could turn it off, undoubtedly. So somebody has said he could be fire. If he had ever thought, I am on fire, he would have hurt. Being fire was not the pain, it was the consciousness that I'm on fire. So the teachings of the Buddhists are in contrast to its practices in some sense.